Welcome to another edition of In the Winner's Circle. Renee Cairns along with Jennifer Morrison. We've got 3 days of racing coming up, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Queenston, the Eclipse, the on-track features. But before we get to talk about what's coming up, let's maybe just close the book on what happened last weekend with always the opening feature on our In the Winner's Circle podcast. And that is the top 5 observations of one Jennifer Morrison. Go.
Okay. This is the first couple of things that I noticed from last weekend. How about the return of spring in the air? That was our champion 2-year-old filly last year.
And spring was in the air all week.
Spring was in the air.
It
was absolutely beautiful weather. Here she came. She came back from her trips to the south in Kentucky, shortening up in the Fury Stakes, and she held on to win by a head. I wasn't too worried about it. The time was good. I like the horse that was second, Smarty Fly from Sampson Farms. I think spring in the air is going to be just fine as she heads towards the Woodbine Oaks.
Okie dokie.
Last Friday was a big day at the office for trainer Mike Doyle. He won 3 races, and his horses have been really live this year. If you look at a card of racing and you see Doyle horses, everyone looks like they're well spotted. So pay attention to his horses because they aren't paying very well also. And his first-time starters are well prepared.
Yeah, they seem to be coming out gangbusters.
That's right.
Okay. 2 in the books, 3 to go.
Yeah, last Sunday was the Wando Stakes, one of our first prep races, a mile 16 for the Queen's Plate. It's a pretty exciting race. Pyrite Mountain, upset, horse of the year uncaptured, who is now off the Queen's Plate trail, according to trainer Mark Cassie in the Daily Racing Form. So Pyrite Mountain launches himself right up to the head of the class for Queen's Plate contenders. Here's a horse owned by 38 individual owners from the Awesome Again Racing Syndicate, started by Frank Stronach. The colt is a son of Silent Name, our promising young sire here in Ontario. So it's an exciting time for Queen's Plate horses, and Pirate Mountain, a very predictable winner by a lot of us in the Wando Stakes.
There was another Silent Name that won on the weekend as well. There was a County Lineman.
County Lineman.
And the horse that was second was also
Silent Admirer.
Yeah,
so we're going to see 3 Silent Names heading towards the Queen's Plate, at least. Luis Contreras had a great day on Friday. He won 6 of the 10 races. It really was quite something. Won a couple more on the weekend. So he's leading heading into this weekend. He's our champion rider from the last 2 seasons. So things going swimmingly for Luis Contreras currently. Well, I don't know how many people would know who this horse is, but I thought this was a pretty interesting little tidbit from last week. Coastal Fortress won her maiden at 101 to 1. She paid $205 to win in a small field. Maiden claimers, 11,500 claiming. Rubber Girl trains her. Very poor form from last season. But what an upset. That just goes to show you there's lots of long shots out there. $2, you win 205.
Not a bad investment for a pretty big return. So that's your top 5, but that's only what happened at Woodbine. Of course, last Saturday was the first Saturday in May. All eyes at around 6:30 on Saturday afternoon into the evening. We're watching the Kentucky Derby with a field of 19. I think a lot of people like their horses. I like Normandy Invasion. But something that was really throwing a monkey wrench into the handicapping selections was the weather.
Boy, it rained all day long there, and we lost. Point of entry was not in the turf stakes race against Wise Dan. Some of the fields were shortened. And it was, tough to handicap the Derby if you tried to work in who's bred for the slop or who's going to handle it. Turns out that one of the logical horses, a horse that we didn't really know who he was in January, but then he went through all the preps and won easily. Orb was a very popular winner of the Kentucky Derby. And I know you have a lot of respect for Shug McGahee, a true horseman.
And it's been quite a few years since he went to the Derby because when he goes with a horse, he wants to make sure he's got a horse that is a contender, and Orb definitely is. So Shug gets his first Kentucky Derby. For everything else that he has on his resume, it's nice that he's got that big race.
That's right, and now everybody's excited that, maybe this is the horse. Maybe this is the horse finally that will get a chance to win the Triple Crown and put racing in the spotlight again. I know we were all hoping last year for I'll Have Another. So Orb is going to try to furnish that same late kick at a trickier surface at Pimlico in the Preakness Stakes, a shorter distance. He looks very good for the Belmont Stakes because that's, his style of running is good for the Belmont. So we'll see how it happens. The field will be smaller for the Preakness. He'll be meeting a lot of horses that he beat already. Will the track be fast and more speed favoring? Will it be sloppy again?
Yeah, and he's a type of horse that probably needs a long stretch because he's a grinding closer. it's not the same scenario at Pimlico. So Joe Rosario is going to have to try and make some decisions to get up there in time. But I think Orb is a pretty nice horse. Again, congratulations to all the connections of Orb winning the Kentucky Derby. So that race is in the books. We've got, again, 3 days of racing right here at Woodbine. 9 races on the program Friday afternoon. The on-track feature with a nice healthy purse of $50,000. An Ontario sired maiden race for 3-year-old fillies. And a couple in the race have already been up against each other with a race under their belt. Many exiting that race back on April 20th. That was won by the Bob Tiller trained Tequila Mockingbird.
On April 20th, if you remember, opening day was a day, it was very tough on speed horses. So you'll be looking for horses that maybe raced on that day. It was inside and speed horses that weren't doing that well. I've circled a long shot in the 8th race just for a horse that you could include in your exotics. She has to beat Trail of Letters, who's going to be a tough horse to beat, and Synergist. But the Girl's Ring, who's going to be number 1, 2, 3, 4... in the race, trained by Arthur Silvera, Jessie Campbell riding. In her debut, she didn't break all that well. And then she got a really good position around the turn, but then she was blocked behind horses when looking like she had quite a bit of run. She managed to get herself out of there, put a little bit of a bid in, and then flattened out in the end. But I thought it was a really good learning experience for her. She's a full sister to the Boys Ring, who won quite a bit of money here and was a good sprinter for Paul Buttigieg. So I'm looking at the Girls Ring to be included in my Pick 4 ticket, because also we have 2 Pick 4s on Friday, even though there's only 9 races. Yeah, but we're going to start a Pick 4 on the 4th, and we're going to start another Pick 4 on the 6th. So don't forget about that, because there's lots of money to be had out there.
I like Synergist. She was 4-1 when she finished third, got beat a couple of lengths to Born to Be Queen, that was going 5/8. I think I don't think it's going to be too much longer before she breaks her maiden. And I like the Stallion, Smooth Bid. Last year, his first crop were 2-year-olds. It's a horse that the Fieldstone Farms, Ron Delmas, have put a lot of faith in because they've bred a lot of their horses to them. And I couldn't wait now that they're turning 3. I think they're going to be pretty tough in this Ontario side category. He was a horse that loved the grass, and we know that grass stallions have done very well here on the Polytrack, and I think Steve Asmussen actually trained him. So I like the Smooth Bid horses as they turn 3, and Synergist could be the first of those winners. So race number 8 on Friday, part of a 9-race program, is the on-track feature with a purse of $50,000. Carrots for Me, part of the Tiller entry, is in that race, but is actually entered to go later on the weekend. So that one will be a scratch. Can't run Friday and then back on the weekend. So only 1 horse, Trail of Letters, will be going for the Hall of Famer Bob Tiller. Saturday rolls around, and there are 9 races on Saturday as well. Lots of different horses coming in from all kinds of different directions. I see Daniel Be Good is in the 4th. He won his seasonal debut. He's always tough. He comes from an inside post. But the on-track feature, and one that many will be watching because of perhaps the Queen's Plate connotations, is the Queenston, going 7/8 of a mile, $150,000 guaranteed purse. So 3-year-olds, Ontario bred, with a field of 6. There were 60 nominations. Go.
Well, field of 6. Now, Mark Casse has already said that of his 3 of the 6 that are entered, Dynamic Sky may wait until the Marine Stakes at 2 turns coming up in a couple of weeks. So there might be a field of 5, but it's still an interesting race. And the Queenston is one of my favorite races because it really means we're getting close to the Queen's Plate Trail. 2 months to the Queen's Plate, July 7th. The Queenston has produced 4 Queen's Plate winners in the last 25 years. Not a bad stat. The last one was Not Bourbon in 2008. Then we had Woodcarver, Victor Cooley, and Regal Intention 25 years ago. So it's a really, it's an interesting race. It's 7 furlongs. It's not the mile and a quarter, but it's getting the horses going somewhere. And this race is a very important step for River 7. The Tucci Stables, 3-year-old by Johannesburg, bred by Bill Graham. And River 7 was a finalist for Champion 2-year-old. He won the Gray Stakes last year over Uncaptured. Looks like he can sprint. And Johannesburg was a tremendous 2-year-old himself. Looks like he can sprint. This race, he's had a ton of fast workouts coming into this race from Florida to here. So I think it's a big, big effort for River 7 coming up. The 2 horses that Casse may run, Star Contender, won the Cup and Saucer last year. Sort of tailed off a bit this year. They're taking the blinkers off to see if he'll relax a bit. I'm a little skeptical on where his head's at. Jagger M is the other Mark Casse trainee, a horse that just won his maiden at Keeneland, and he's on the upward spiral. And then you have Speedster's Black Hornet on the outside, and Kitten Candy making his first start of the year. And I think Kitten Candy is a horse you're going to hear from at some point. I'm just not sure it's going to be right off the bat in the Queenston on
Kitten
Saturday.
Candy is a homebred for Frank DiGiulio. Win Kitty, I think from the same family as Win City.
That's right.
And talking about Bill Graham being the breeder of River 7, he also bred Star Contender, and Bill Graham was won a Sovereign as the champion breeder in Ontario for 2012.
It's a great handicapping angle right now. You see horses bred by Bill Graham, they're an automatic inclusion in any
to
of
the
your
windows.
bets, for sure.
Yeah, I think Bill was very much deserving. It seemed like every good 2-year-old that was out there last year who bred it, Bill Graham.
That's right.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
So Bill gets his Sovereign. We'll see who gets the win in the Queenston, and that does indeed begin our trek towards the Queen's Plate. That's the biggest race for the 3-year-olds here in Canada. Getting on to Sunday, a 10-race program on Sunday. Lots of big fields, especially in that pick 4. Geez, the first leg of the pick 4 has 14 horses in it. Good luck with all that.
Yeah, that's a big card on Sunday. We have a couple of 2 soft cards Friday and Saturday, and then pow. Sunday is going to be a lot of work for all of us to write about them and put the odds on them and everything like that. So, unfortunately, the Eclipse Stakes is only a 5-horse field,
Yeah.
but all the good ones are there.
They are, because many in this field at some point were Sovereign finalists. So there's quality here. You've got Perfect Fleet going for Roger Atfield, Don Cavallo, Alpha Better. I thought, to me, it was only a matter of time last season before he got a stake win, and he did. He won the Seagram. He had been so close on so many occasions. Josie Carroll sending out Jane Street for the Melnick Racing Stable. Delegation won the prep for this race, going coast to coast with Gary Boulanger in the irons back on the 21st. That was opening weekend.
Well, I mean, and Delegation was eye-popping and impressive.
Very impressive.
104 buyer figure, reaching out at the finish. Perhaps he could regress a bit. Even if he does, he's probably still going to win. It'd be very hard to bet against him. The only thing that's interesting about this race is that Reed Baker is going to try a little bit of a different tactics with Don Cavallo, owned by the Stronach Stable, putting the blinkers back on this horse. He seems to have lost his focus a bit. You were mentioning this earlier today about perhaps the blinkers will help him pay attention to what he's doing. Seems to have lost his way a bit. But does that mean that he's going to be so focused that he's going to go after Delegation? And if he goes after Delegation at the mile 16th, is that going to leave them a little bit vulnerable in the stretch for a horse like Jane Street to pounce?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. So Delegation, he's got speed. Don Cavallo, what's going to happen with him? Any one of these getting the right scenario, and it's always tougher in a small field as far as I think it's more of a chess game with the riders. When you've got a small field, if you just let Delegation go, you might as well just hand it to him on a silver platter.
That's right. And it's hard enough for us to try and pick or bet on horses in a race, but then you have to predict what the barn trainer, the jockey are going to do once they get out there, and how the race is going to set up.
Yeah.
We can say all we want on how it's going to set up on paper, but you know what they say about the race being run on paper.
What do they say about the race being run on paper?
It's not.
It's
Okay.
This is a pineapple, by the way.
Yeah.
We didn't have flowers, but we thought we would bring something fruity into the mix other than
Extra
us.
fruity.
So I like it too. I like pineapple.
You can snack on it later.
Because a horse that used to be in the entries, you won't see him in the entries anymore, has been retired and has been kindly donated to Long Run in order to give him another life after racing, and that is one by the name of Red Eagle.
Well, we thought we'd mention Red Eagle. Long Run has done such a great job over the years placing thoroughbreds. And how about the owners and trainers, people that find their own homes for their horses, but sometimes they need a little bit of help from Long Run. Red Eagle won almost $300,000. He raced up till last October. 5-year-old gelding by Legal Jousting, who's a very underrated sire here in Ontario, by the way. And a very speedy horse, but he has settled down from his time away from the track and is ready for a home, like very soon. So if you want to check out longrunretirement.com, Red Eagle is there and ready to be loved.
There are so many outlets for these horses. I've said if they've got the right, some have different constitutions, some have different mental capabilities, but if they're the right size, some of them are very good polo ponies. A horse that I had a few years ago, he's now a hunter jumper. He's loved. He's in love. It's a perfect match. Another one that I had a few years ago. He's now working with Rob Love, our head outrider, and maybe I'll get to use him when I do the Queen's Plate. for
That would
CBC.
That would be
I'd
cool.
love it because he's a real flashy looking horse. But there are so many different outlets for these horses once their racing career is done. It's not over for them once they leave the track. There's a lot of other
Nope.
things for them to do.
Absolutely. We just hope that everybody out there knows that and make sure they have a great home once they're done playing for us.
I think Red Eagle definitely topped up his RSPs, so he's deserving of a good retirement. Always a closing feature here on every edition of In the Winner's Circle is 5 things that you don't know about somebody. Today's subject, victim, however you want to say, is Richard Dos Ramos.
Ah, okay.
I was going out to the track the other day and I saw him walking by and I said, you know what? Tell me 5 things about you that people don't know. Get back to me on that. He came back to the barn and we sat down. And he was originally born in Trinidad, and many people think that he started riding down there, but in fact he came to Canada at the age of 6, so actually had his first winter at Greenwood aboard a horse called Lord Henry for Pete McCann. So he never rode down there. He goes back to ride every now and then for invitationals, but he never rode in Trinidad. A business on the side that he has is a pest control business. Comes in handy at the racetrack.
Yep.
He's a good cook, and he likes to cook. So being a jockey and being a good cook, that can get a little bit tricky. However, he plays a lot of racquetball.
Oh, so it cancels it out.
Yeah, so you can kind of counteract the good cooking, go out, sweat a little bit in the racquetball court because that is a pretty tough sport. And another thing that kind of surprised me about him, he's afraid of thunder, especially when he's sitting in the starting gate, which I can understand.
Sure, I wouldn't be sitting there. I'd leave.
You wouldn't have gotten in there in the first place.
No.
She used to ride, though. Can you believe it? Show me a picture of her going over jumps. It's still... And one day we're going to hold that picture up. This is Jennifer Morrison going over a jump on a horse.
Yes. I think that's a good idea.
Yes, maybe we'll get you to gallop one day.
That's not a good
Maybe
idea.
not. Okay. Another edition of the In the Winner's Circle will come to a close. Sponsored by the HPBA of Ontario. And again, check out that long run website. Horses like Red Eagle and many more are looking for good homes. Hopefully we gave you some information today that will help you with your handicapping and help you find your way to the Winner's Circle.